Hello and welcome to the Integrity Project. I'm Roy Coachol, your host. And today I have a very special guest. I'm going to say he's my brother from another mother. Last episode I had my actual brother here. But I'm having my great good friend, Chris Atwell, who we both went through the Man on Fire community together and became very good friends. And just to tell you a little bit about Chris before we get started. Chris is a peak performance leadership expert and the founder of the Mindset Conquest. Chris works with manufacturer reps, agency owners to help them achieve transformational growth through mindset mastery, leadership development, and strategic planning. With over 18 years of leadership experience in distribution and manufacturing, Chris brings real-world insight to what truly takes to build a resilient team, optimize performance, and create sustainable growth. He blends practical business systems with a deep focus on well-being, clarity, leadership, integrity. Chris.
Hey, Roy.
My brother, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
You know, I'll be honest with you, when I created all the questions for this podcast, I was thinking more about what you do. And before we get started, why don't you tell the audience, what you actually do on a daily basis?
Yeah. And you summarized it in a really professional manner there a second ago.
Thank you.
What I do is I help business owners take care of themselves better so that they can show up for their team, for their business at a higher level, and get really close to their vision, their why.
What do you mean that show up better? Like, are you talking about more of a personal aspect? Are you looking more physical aspect, mental aspect? What do you mean by that?
All the above. So you're a business owner, right? And
Yeah.
you know what it takes when you're scaling a business and you're running a team of employees, and there's a part of you that has the entrepreneurial spirit, so you feel that you have to handle everything yourself when things are going awry, or you take on more than you can chew as the business owner. And what I do is I help these people recognize that the first thing that they need to protect as a business owner is their own energy. And what I mean by energy is their physical energy, their emotional energy, their mental energy. And I guide them in recognizing where they might have some blind spots and gaps in how they're taking care of themselves. You know, I know too many business owners that are getting close to 50 years old and haven't hit the gym in 3 years because they're too busy, right? And now these physical ailments are showing up. They're getting sick. You know, they're tired. Their energy's low. So I help them create the habits to take care of themselves, but not only on a physical level, also I guide people through meditations and breath work on a regular basis so that they can get more connected with themselves, which helps them show up better in their business and in their personal life.
Yeah, I find that if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of the others on your team either, right? Because what happens is when we don't have that energy to show up with, we're very reactive.
Yeah.
We don't see the opportunities within the challenges, and then we take them out on people that, you know, it's not really their fault. I mean, as leaders, I would seem that you take most of the responsibility to show up for them.
Yeah.
And when you don't have that enough physical energy, then, you know, you're tired, you're miserable, everything's a problem, everything's an issue. And, you know, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. And, you know, Chris, you and I feel like we live parallel lives in a lot of things. And I'm going to ask you some pretty deep questions here because, you know, when it comes down to the Integrity Project, I want people to understand that they're not alone.
Yeah.
And, you know, we both had quite a few betrayals in our life. And how do you see betrayal in your life actually benefit you on the other side? You know, I think that everyone talks about the hurts and the pains and the wounds that come along with betrayal, but how has that propelled you as a man now?
Oh, I love that you asked that question because a lot of people would shy away from even sharing and be vulnerable in this situation. And I've learned that these betrayals that I've ultimately done to myself have taught me some really valuable lessons, right? And the first time that I truly faced these betrayals, it benefited me in a way that I just felt this immense sense of relief, because I was burying things so deep, and I was hiding these lies, these betrayals, these things that I was doing that were well below my standard, that were affecting my relationship with my wife, that were affecting the way I was showing up at work, that were preventing me from being the version of myself that I knew I could really be. And when I opened up about these things for the first time, which is, to be honest, I promised myself I wouldn't open up about these things.
We all make that promise when we show up at one of those,
Right?
right? We show up at Men on Fire, like,
Yeah.
oh, screw this stuff. I'm not saying anything,
Yeah.
right? And then all of a sudden you have this beautiful energy of like,
Mhm.
hey, you know what? You're not being judged.
Yeah.
You're being heard. And what we want to do is we want to help you propel you as a man, which is very difficult in just society in general because people are so judgmental,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
continue on.
Yeah. It's, I was in this environment surrounded by men who were, living parallel lives as me, that have been through similar situations. Even though they're all different, we all struggle with the same pains and suffering. So when I broke through that barrier of the brick wall of holding everything back, there was this great sense of relief, but there was also a sense of knowing that I was doing the right thing. And when I did that, no matter how difficult it was, every time I would make those small steps of doing the right thing, and they were big steps, right? This weight would just come off me, and it would crack open this new shell that allowed me to just step into a greater version of myself with a higher level of purpose, with a higher level of integrity, and it also allowed me to hold boundaries in a different way. It benefited me in a way where I knew that I was betraying myself in so many ways, that I had a new understanding of what a boundary was, which allowed me to hold a higher standard for myself and not repeat these same mistakes, but also recognize that if I did make the same mistake, that I could own up to it, and that I could take ownership and show up differently. So there's been a multitude of benefits. The greatest one, if I was to summarize it, is that I had, and this took a while for me to get to, is that I just love myself at a deep level now. That whole concept of self-love, I didn't know what it was, because I had so much shame and guilt and pain that I was burying, that it clouded the whole ability to love myself. And now I wake up in the morning and I'm just like, I love you, man. It's a great feeling. It really is.
That's one of the greatest gifts that going through my struggles as well, is the fact that I finally found that self-love, and I still get emotional about it. Because for so long you just hide in all your shit and in the muck. And then, how David used to say is like, you have to come clean. And it's like cleaning house. It's like cleaning your room. All of a sudden you have all this room for like self-love, for self-respect, for worthiness, all the things that you didn't have before because you just live in a mess.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's part of a healing journey isn't trying to fix your mistakes. It's about now accepting them for what they were.
Right.
And making the decision that you want to change as a human being.
Yeah.
And to let go of that old identity of mine was so difficult in one aspect, but so easy on another. As soon as I decided that I no longer wanted to be that immature, wounded little boy, I wanted to show up as a man, not just for my family, but for me.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you show up as what you think it means to be a man, to protect, to provide. But there's so much more to being a man, is being vulnerable and being open and being honest and be able to have very difficult, challenging conversations with really important people like your wife and your children. And, it was such, and having, I'm going to say, a brotherhood like you in it, where we can call each other when we're struggling and be able just to know that you're not going to judge me and I'm not going to judge you. and just love each other unconditionally, which I never understood that concept until I went through that Man on Fire experience.
Yeah.
And today, I'm gonna call them soul ships, not relationships, but soul ships. Like it's deeper than just friendships. Like if anybody called either one of us anytime, we would be like, yeah, no problem. Whatever you need, we're here.
Yeah. It's not just the, hey, I need help moving. Can you come over and move these boxes? It's like, you know what, man, I'm about to have a serious breakthrough, and you're the guy I want in my corner, type of thing. You know, I remember coming back from my first Man on Fire event and having the realization that I've been walking around life as a victim, as a wounded little boy, didn't even realize it. I thought I was a man, right? And when I made the decision that I was going to open up to my wife about my betrayals, a lot of my friends thought I was fucking crazy. They're like, you know, I talked to my brother about it. He's like, why would you do that? Like, what are you doing? Even my father, he was like, that's, you know, you're picking a different path than I'm familiar with, right? And it was scary as hell, right? Because I had to face the truth and no longer avoid it, but having you in my corner, right? We had lots of deep phone calls along the way, and I was like, man, I'm scared. I don't know how to do this, and the timing's not right. And I was coming up with excuses and delaying, and then finally, you know, I opened up, and so much has changed ever since, right?
I think that, you know, the scariest part about opening up is the fact that the person that you're cleaning your mess up with is going to see you in a completely different light, and they do. And they either they see the first time they'll actually see who you really are. And I think at first it's a shock because they don't know who this person is, but they know that finally that you showed up with full integrity. And you're not coming again. And what I want you to understand too is, and I tell this with anybody that I help out, is like, you're coming from a place of love. It's not about being angry or upset or having blame. It's coming from a place of love. So that way the person across from you can trust their own instincts. And I think that a lot of times what happens is when you're in a relationship that you're not being truthful with, or you're not being, your intentions are terrible and you're hiding things from them, they always have this innate knowing that there's something off.
Yeah.
And giving them the freedom to actually honor themselves and be able to trust their instincts again. Because I know that if I'm off, Leanne knows I'm off. And then we always call each other forward, like, hey, you know, I feel you. There's something going on or something you want to share. And it's not about prying, and people will share when they're ready.
Yeah.
And I know that, you know, you and Sarah are still working things out, but even though your relationship is, I guess, technically changed, if you want to call it, but how has your relationship gotten deeper because of you cleaning up your mess, let's call it?
Yeah. You know, I could go back and start pinpointing all of the times where Sarah started feeling that something was off, right? But it built up over about a decade, and I was hiding things.
Like what kind of things? If you want to share, obviously,
Yeah,
like, you know.
yeah. So, you know, I was using a lot of drugs, right? I was using cocaine, ecstasy, mushrooms, LSD in secret. I had my group of friends that I could do it with safely. I had a safe in my basement that locked, and it kept everything in there. And when I came home, I was clean as a whistle. So I thought I looked and pretended to be. And I did that for years, as a coping mechanism, as a way for me to avoid my own feelings. And I was putting my family in danger, you know, having all these drugs in the safe. And I was lying constantly. And Sarah could feel that. And the more I would avoid and pretend this wasn't happening, the worse our relationship got, the further apart we got. And that led to other behaviors where, you know, I fell well below my standard and betrayed her in different ways. And every time I would do these things, this sense of guilt would build up and the shame. So I would bury it more and pretend that that version of me didn't exist. So I was literally walking around, multiple masks. And when I opened up to Sarah about all these things, obviously she was scared, she was frightened, she didn't know who I was, and my intention was to, one, open up for myself, because I knew that that was necessary for me to close that chapter, to move on to the next version of myself, but also because I knew deep down that she knew something was off, and that her knowing was, she just knew, right? She might not have consciously knew it, but subconsciously she could feel it. And I knew that I needed to honor that if we were going to fix our relationship. And it was like throwing bricks at her in the moment, right? It was just bam, bam, bam. I told her a lot of truths that led to, is there more? There's got to be more, right? So we went even as far as doing what's called a full disclosure, where I wrote everything down from as far back as I could remember. She gave me dozens of questions, very personal, vulnerable things. And more things came up for me that I hadn't told her. So I wrote it down and I shared it with her in a session. And my whole approach for all of this was that so we could help fix our relationship, so that we could get closer together. But the fact is, it pulled us even further apart. Right? She was hurt by a lot of this truth. So as we, we're going on a year of this now. No, over a year. It's 2 years. Jeez, it's 2 years since I fully did the full disclosure. 2 years now. We worked on a relationship, but eventually it led to separation. And as much as that separation is hard, from a communication standpoint, from an honesty and integrity standpoint, from a co-parenting standpoint, we're stronger than ever. Right? We talk every day. We have an understanding of what we're willing to talk about. We also have an understanding that there's some healing that needs to take place, and we're honoring that with each other. And our kids have become, I don't want to say protected, but we've really focused on making sure that we're not angry at each other, right? That we're still friends, that we're treating each other with respect and kindness and being fair, which we've done. So there's no, as much as there's pain there, we've done a really good job at minimizing the animosity and the tension, so that we can still operate as a unit, even though we're living in separate houses.
Do you feel like this is your first true, authentic relationship with your wife after, like, you guys were together for like, what, 15 years?
Almost, yeah, 13 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, it'll be 15 years this year. Yeah. So 13 years when I opened up. It took 13 years for me to be honest with her.
Yeah.
Yes. I feel like this is the most authentic that I've been with her.
Right.
Yeah, most definitely.
And I can't imagine the shock and the pain that she must have went through.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we've had very deep conversations about this stuff. But it's still amazing that you guys will have Christmas together.
Mm-hmm.
It's still amazing that you guys, take care of the kids together. You'll have like family night and stuff like that. So there is, I think that there is a point where she really understands who you are now, but she still has her own healing to do. And is she doing anything to help her healing, or is she just going through, just trying to get through the emotions that she sees? I can't imagine how much love she has for you, because obviously if she didn't, she wouldn't be, wanting you over and so. And you guys have the same birthday, which is tomorrow. So happy birthday.
Yeah,
by the
thank
way.
you. Thank you.
To you and Sarah. And how's Sophie and Lily doing?
Yeah. So the kids, I mean, they're different ages, right? One's 11, one's 5. The 5-year-old is still very much, connected to her mom, right? In certain ways. So it's difficult for her when she's got to separate herself from her mom,
Right.
right? And there's a lot of I miss mommy moments, which I totally understand, right? And my oldest, she's certainly more. She's an old soul, like she's 11, but she acts like she's 20 sometimes, right? With her maturity. And so that to me gives me confidence that she's handling things well. But at the same time, if she's anything like me, I worry that maybe she's burying things and she's not fully expressing herself, which I get too, right?
Do you find that showing up with your heart online and being completely honest, do you have honest conversation with your kids?
Yeah.
Like I know
As much as they're willing to, right?
Yeah.
They are kids after all, and sometimes they just look at you and they're like, "Daddy, this is boring," right? So, so as much as I want to have my heart online and be open, and I also got to recognize, they're still just kids, right?
Right.
So we have a lot of fun, and the way that I approach it is, look, just I show up for them. I keep the phone down as much as possible. We eat dinners together every meal. We travel together. We play a lot of games, right? And I let them be kids, right?
Yeah.
Knowing that, hey, if you need mommy, we can call her anytime. You can have a FaceTime, and that happens regularly, right?
Yeah.
And even when I'm not there, we still connect every single day, right? It's like a daily check-in to make sure that we're present for each other.
It's funny because as I was going through mine, I think I would look back at myself like, am I a type of man I want my daughters to marry? Right. And in the beginning, if you asked me this 5 years ago, I'd probably say no. Like, there's no way. Like, yeah, there's certain good aspects of me.
Yeah.
But like the version of I am myself now, like 100%, I would love to have my daughters marry somebody who's just like me.
Yeah. I've that thought has crossed my mind many times, and I would say the same. Like the previous version of me from 3 years ago, definitely not. Like I would be very, very weary and warn my children of that type of person. But that being said, now I'm confident I'm the type of man that I'd want my kids to be with. Yeah.
And, do you feel like I know one thing that I didn't do beforehand, and and I think that one thing people don't realize when you really clean up your mess, it leaves so much space for love, and also leaves so much space for able to feel each other.
Yeah.
And I never really used to film my kids. I thought they were annoying as shit, to be honest with you, because they always wanted something from me. So I was always like giving, and I always felt like, oh, I'm just so resentful of my children, my wife. Everyone just like wants stuff from me. But now that I kind of clean up all the stuff and I come more, I can really feel my kids. So when my kids call me, they don't have to say much. I really do feel them. And do you find that now that you kind of got but you've accepted those parts of you and were able to face it, that you can feel your children more?
100%. And there's one particular experience that started opening up my eyes to the fact that I wasn't showing up for my kids. And this goes back to, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. I was teaching Sophie how to ride a bike, and she was shutting down. She was struggling with the whole situation, and I got mad. Like, I barked at her, and I even went as far as throwing her bike, carrying it home, being like, "Come on, let's go home," right? And the reason that happened was because I was frustrated with myself. I was angry at myself. It was a reflection of what was going on inside of me. All of the things that I was burying came out in these weird ways, right? And today, Sophie still remembers that whole situation. She brings it up all the time, right? And I can honestly say now that I recognize that and I took ownership for it. And that situation taught me a lot, right? And I'm way more present for her than I was in those days. And I know she can feel it, and I can feel her when we're going through any sort of challenge, right? And if she says to me, I don't want to ride a bike now, I don't fight it, right? Or if she says, I don't want to learn how to skate, because I don't want daddy to teach me how to skate, I totally get it, right? I totally get it. Yeah, that scarred you, and that version of me was a fucking prick, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but when you're ready, I'm here to try again.
Yeah.
Right? And for that, I can feel those. I can feel everything now, a lot. Every now and then, I'm curious of what's going on in their little hearts and minds, and I'll say, "Hey, I think I'm feeling this. Am I off?" And I'll get the, "Yeah, you're totally off, Dad. You have no idea what you're talking about, right?" But sometimes she'll be like, "Yeah, yeah, let's talk about it."
Yeah. It's like when I was teaching my daughter how to drive, and she was like, just Dad, there's cars coming. I'm like, well, of course there's cars coming. You're driving on the road, and I'm like, can you move a little more? Like she drove very far to the left because on the driver's side.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can you move right over before you like? And she's like, she lost it, and I'm like, I go, stop the car, stop the car. And then she's like, and now she wants to get back to driving. And my kids, I asked them to get the driver's license when they're 16, but they didn't want to, and yada yada yada. And I stopped fighting, and I said, okay, you guys do whatever you want. And now she's like, oh, I'm trying to find somebody to teach me how to drive. I'm like, well, I can teach you to drive. She's like, I will never have you teach me to drive. And I can't, like, you think about that, and like, listen, I'm different now than I was then, but they're still scarred by it. I think back of my kids' dance recitals and equestrian and all that kind of stuff, and I don't remember any of it, which is really sad.
Yeah.
And I have videos of dances and stuff like that, and go back and I think like I don't even remember that. It was kind of crazy. And now all I want to do is be present for my kids.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to be present for Leanne and my friends when they come over. I'm not like always constantly on the phone. Even when I used to be I never forget, one client of mine said to me, Roy, you're a good guy, but we can't do business together. And I'm like, what? He goes, you're too much of a scatterbrain. Like you're trying to explain stuff to me. You're picking up your phone, you're doing this, you're doing that. And I thought to myself, well, that was really shitty of me. And I called him about a week later. I said, look, I just want to thank you for this. And then I made a rule not to bring my phone in to my meetings. But then when it started happening is my ex-wife, because she didn't trust me and I was betraying her all the time. And she would call me constantly. And if I didn't pick up, she'd call like 50 times. I'm like, listen, I was in the meeting with a client. She goes, I don't care. You got to pick up my phone. I'm like, all right, okay, whatever. So at the end here, I used to be mad at her about that, but now I come from a place of understanding, like, yeah, she had every right to do that. But at the same time, it's because I was never learned to be present anytime, anywhere.
You weren't holding boundaries for yourself.
No.
Right?
And I was a people pleaser, a yes man.
Yes.
Can you this? Yes. Can you this? Yes. Can you this? So, and by the time everyone says yes, by the time I get home, I don't want to hear anything.
Yeah.
I just want to hear
You're
no's,
checked out.
and like I'm checked out. Like I have no energy. And I think that, one thing we've learned also is protect your energy. Like stop just giving it to everybody all the time. Like you can't do that.
Yeah.
And, and I was so good at that. And it was so bad for me. Right? So bad for me. And people think that saying yes to everybody makes them look good.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah. Well, when you look at it at the core, the reason you're saying yes to everything is because you're afraid of something. You're afraid of looking like an asshole. You're afraid of letting people down. You're afraid of being viewed as the person who can't perform. All those things, that's just feelings of unworthiness, feelings of lack. And when you hold boundaries for yourself, when you learn to uphold standards, you build self-respect. And when you build self-respect, other people respect you a lot better, including your loved ones, your family. And going back to what we were talking about, our kids, Sophie is still feeling pain from when I threw her bike, right? But I know now that I'm holding boundaries for myself, that I'm showing up differently. And over time, even though I want her to let me teach her new things, and she's not ready yet, she's on her own healing journey, right? And at some point, I'm waiting for it. It'll happen one day. She'll be, Dad, will you teach me how to do this, right? And I'll know that the work is paying off. And the same goes for when you make the shift from answering the phone all the time, right? You might get a couple of clients calling you, leaving nasty messages. How come you're not calling me back? What the hell's going on? Where's Roy, right? But eventually that work, that self-respect, those boundaries are gonna create a new standard that are gonna allow you to be a better version of yourself.
What is the deepest truth that you discovered over the past few years?
The deepest truth that I've discovered over the past few years is that I am literally the same person from a soul standpoint as that 6-year-old boy that I was when I was 6. And that I lost touch and I couldn't remember what it was like being a kid because of certain things that happened in my life that were traumatic, and I shut it out. And when I honored that little boy, when I finally took a look back and literally gave him a big hug, that's where the self-love was missing. I was refusing, or I was turning an eye to my inner child, which blocked self-love completely. And that truth, I think, lives in all of us, that we just need to remember where we came from, who we are, and how innocent we really are. No matter how many mistakes we've made, I know that for me, how many betrayals I've made, how many mistakes, how much pain I may have caused others and myself, that I'm still an innocent little boy, and I'm just doing my best.
The last one is, what does integrity mean to you?
Integrity to me means living at a high standard. It means being clear on what my boundaries are for myself when it comes to behaviors, when it comes to actions. And it also means upholding that standard, not only for myself, but for others. So that whole saying that you do what you say you're going to do, that's what it means to me.
Beautiful. Chris Atwell, my brother, it's such an honor to have you here today. And, I am so grateful that not only have we met at the Man on Fire, but became great friends. And I wish you and your family a wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And may 2026 be filled with so much of all the things that you love so much, brother. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roy. It's been a real pleasure.
And again, that's the Integrity Project. Thanks very much, everyone, for listening. And have yourselves a wonderful holiday season.